This is The Speaking Show. I'm David Newman, and you're tuned in to the #1 podcast for speakers, consultants, and experts who want to speak more profitably. Well, you may think entrepreneurship is hard, but man, oh man, do we have a huge success story. And you will think whatever you're up against is a walk in the park when you've heard from my next guest, Mr. Carlos Reyes. Carlos, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, brother. I appreciate it. Looking forward to this episode. Let's see if we can actually serve people with a lot of value today.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your backstory. I know you've had all kinds of interesting things, good, bad, ugly, crazy, upside down, but take us through the professional journey that brought you to the work that you're doing today.
All right. So presently, I'm, I would say one of the top real estate investors on the single family residential side, as far as private firms, private companies goes. And, you know, it's funny. A lot of people think and they feel like they need millions of dollars to become real estate investors. That's the persona. That's the perception out there. Like, oh man, you need a lot of money to start flipping houses. Well, the fact of the matter is I started in this industry from the bottom with handwritten bandit signs on street corners. I had no money. I don't have a real estate license. I had no credit. The building that I'm broadcasting from today, you know, we bought this building for $2 million back in 2019. We own this building, and it's all because of real estate, right? It's all because of real estate. So my journey started in 2014. That's when my real estate journey started. I read a book. It was a $10 book. I was so broke that, you know, I couldn't afford mentorship, a course, you know, of several $100s, you know, as far as courses go. I couldn't afford none of that. You know, I was living paycheck to paycheck, working a 9-to-5 job, like, you know, 99% of today's society is. But I knew that I wanted more, not only for myself, but for my family, you know, for my wife, for my 2 daughters, my mother, who worked her butt off to even get me to this country. And that's what I was going to start hitting on is, you know, I'm an immigrant. I wasn't born in this country. My mother wasn't born in this country. My daughters are the first generation American that are born in this country. And a lot of people, you know, when they think of immigrants and they think of immigration, they think of their fathers or mothers or their grandfathers or great grandfathers, right? Maybe you have some immigrants in your family from way back in the day, right? Well, I am those immigrants that most people have, right? I did come here illegally. I came to this country illegally twice. And I started fixing my paperwork in the 7th grade. You know, I started fixing my immigration and naturalization paperwork in the 7th grade. And later on, thank God, I became a citizen of this country. But I started with nothing. You know, I was born in Mexico. You know, I grew up in a 350 square foot house that was made out of literally plywood. There was plywood, laminate roofing. We had dirt floors. We didn't have concrete floors, anything like that. We didn't have running water. We didn't have electricity. That's how I grew up. You know, we had a washing board in the back where we would wash our clothes. We had a back house where we would use as a restroom. I mean, I'm talking like third world country poverty. You know, that's where I come from, right? But nobody would ever think that, you know, like seeing me today, right? With the success that I've been able to attain, like they wouldn't think that. They would never even fathom that in any way. They probably think like, oh man, this guy was probably born into money or he hit the lottery. Yeah, that's definitely not the case. I come from absolute nothing. So just like many Americans, I started to become Americanized and I wanted to, you know, provide for my mother and my family. So I got a 9-to-5 job where I could, and I started doing that. And I started working my way up the corporate ranks. I started making decent money.
Carlos, I'm curious, what was the corporate job?
So I worked for a small financial institution in the Southwest region of the United States, where it was like small lending, you know, it was a lending company. And I started in that organization as a very low level employee making, you know, $10 an hour. And then they started to really see that I had a lot of potential and, you know, I took on a lot of ownership and I cared and I had some leadership skills and some management skills. And I started working my way up the corporate ranks. And then I got all the way up to a regional management position. But even at the regional management position, I was living paycheck to paycheck, man, because, you know, I had a mortgage, I had 2 cars, I had insurance, I had, you know, all kinds of things that I literally would be left over on a biweekly basis with a few $100s to spare, you know? It definitely wasn't living. I wasn't thriving. I was literally just surviving. And man, I got tired of being in survival mode, you know? So then I said, you know what? I want more. I want more. I want to become more. You know, I want to do more. I want to make more. I want to provide more. Right. So then I tried a lot of different, you know, other business ventures that just weren't really playing out. So a lot of people out there that may be in a situation where, you know, they try one business venture and it doesn't work. That's okay. You know, there's two things that are going to happen from it, right? One, you know, the only two alternatives when that happens is one, you're going to quit and you're probably going to be traumatized and scared to ever try anything else ever again. Or two, which I'm hoping for a lot of people out there, is you're going to learn. You're going to fail, but you're going to fail forward. You're going to learn from that experience and you're going to know, you know, what to do and what not to do on your next go around, whether it's the same business venture or a different business venture. Right. And, you know, I want to encourage people that even if you fail once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 10 times, man, you know, you don't really fail until you give up. Like if you quit, then yes, you have failed. You have failed. But if you don't quit, you're going to make it. Eventually, you're going to persevere. Eventually, you're going to find something that's going to click. And eventually, you're going to be able to do something that maybe nobody in your family has ever even thought of doing.
Right.
And then you're going to really, you know, achieve financial freedom for you and your family. And God willing, depending how big you make it work, you may even change the financial trajectory of your family for generations to come. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do now. So I want to encourage people out there not to be so quick to give up on their first, second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th attempt of failing.
Oh my gosh. Well, for sure. And just so people know that this is not just some motivational kind of hype here, Carlos, you started your first business at the age of 5 doing door-to-door sales. You've started 27 different companies in a whole bunch of different industries.
31, actually.
31. We got to update your PR materials, my friend. 31 different companies, 7 of which have become multi-million-dollar companies. Yep. So I'm curious, what was the door-to-door business when you were 5 years old?
At an early age, you know, in Mexico, like I said, we were extremely, extremely poor. So the only way to make money is to go out and work. Well, I happen to be the oldest sibling in my family. I'd sold bread, like Mexican bread, door to door. Literally, I would keep 50% of the profit. And the lady that made the bread, she would keep the other 50% of the profit. Man, all that programming, that early programming, it really helped me as an adult for sure.
So the programming is things like knock on enough doors. People want what you have. You got a great product. You're helping people. This is a great deal for them. The more you
honestly, taking no's, communication, persuasion, even like NLP in some way, right? You're a kid, you're trying to sell bread and, you know, maybe they don't want your bread, but you're like, hey, no, you should really, you know, what are you going to do Sunday morning? What are you going to have? You're going to need some bread with that coffee, you know, because people in Mexico are huge on coffee and bread in the morning. So, you know, I was doing a lot of that at a very early age. And I remember, you know, after I did that for a while, my mother brought us to the States the first time through a sewer canal in the border of California. It was called San Isidro next to Tijuana. Brought us to a sewer canal. And then I attended the 2nd grade here in America, in California. And then I learned English 2nd and 3rd grade. And then between the summer of 3rd and 4th grade, we had already failed financially again because it was very expensive. Went back to Mexico. I started bagging groceries now. Commission, 100% commission. You know, I would bag groceries, take it out to their vehicle, and then ask for a tip. I was making about $5 to $10 a day. My mother was making about $30 a day cleaning hotel rooms. So I was actually making more. I became the breadwinner. I was making more money than her. And we saved up enough money to get her on a bus back to Phoenix, Arizona, where I am today. Saved up enough money, got her here. And then the next time she brought me over through a fence in Nogales. She paid a guy $25 to jump me through a fence in Nogales. And that's how I got to America the second time. And then we started my immigration paperwork. So again, man, I've been through the ringer in some ways. You know, I've been through the ringer in some ways. I've survived a lot. I've been through a lot. And, you know, I just want to encourage people out there that, you know, no matter how bad your situation, you know, is or how bad you think your situation may be, God's purpose for you is bigger than any obstacles that you may be facing now. You just got to tap into it, and you got to connect and not give up. You got to move forward, connect to the source, which is God, obviously. Align with your purpose. Hey, man, I'm not here to just do this. Like, I'm here to actually do something bigger with my life. Well, awareness is the first step. Once you start becoming aware of, like, I know there's more out there, and I know that I want more, you start asking questions, right? Then you start to direct the focus of the mind towards what it is that you want to accomplish with your life. Awareness is the first step to anything.
Hey, good looking. Are you currently getting paid to speak? Would you like to ramp that up? We can help. Book a confidential speaker strategy call with our team at doitmarketing.com/call, and let's see what we might do together. The call is free, but the results may be priceless. Carlos, I'm also curious. Tell me a little bit about some of the early businesses that did not work out. Like you said, fail 4, 5, 6, 7 times, keep on going. What were some of the early things that you tried? And then what were some of the early hits where you're like, oh my gosh, this just took off. Yeah. And now here's a 7-figure business. What were some of those?
So early on, I remember, well, first and foremost, let me just say this. I was already here in America, and I started working in the 7th grade. During that summer, I started going to construction sites where real estate investors, and that's probably why I became a real estate investor, because that subconscious programming at an early age. In the 7th grade, I used to actually go to these job sites, and they used to pay me cash as a kid. I used to have a wheelbarrow, and I used to pick up all their trash. That was 7th and 8th grade. That's how I made enough money for shoes and uniforms for when I was a student. A lot of this was under the table, right? And when I was in the 9th grade, I started working at the airport and helping with, it's called back setup, where you're organizing things that go on the plane, right? Back setup. Started doing that. Then I got another job at the Dial Corporation, putting together, the soap dial, putting the soaps in the boxes, boom, 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 boom. And then I slowly started to scale my way up. I became a salesman in different retail stores. I started selling electronics. And then I joined a mortgage brokerage, and that was before the crash in '08. So then that failed completely. And then I started doing merchandising for some really big Hispanic artists, and that failed for me. I got screwed out of 2 different situations that actually I could have probably made my first several million at an early age in my early 20s. I'm 37 now. And then, I started, again, merchandise, clothing, cars, like whatever I can get my hands on for arbitrage, buying low, selling high. Nothing was working. Everything failed. 5, 7 10 different things failed. And then I went back to what I always wanted to do. My dream was to become a real estate investor. So I was like, man, I started, again, awareness. And I started asking questions. Man, I'm aware, like, I want to become a real estate investor, right? Then the question was, well, how do I become a real estate investor with no money, no credit, no partners, no real estate license? How do I become a real estate investor? So then I discovered this concept called real estate wholesaling. And wholesaling is, you don't got to have money. You just got to be able to market. You're in the marketing business,
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So you just got to get in front of what's called a motivated seller, somebody who really needs to sell their house fast. They can't put it on the market. They can't wait around for someone to get a loan from the bank. They have to sell for cash now. They have some type of emergency, divorce, bankruptcy, relocation, something's going on, right? So they have a problem, and then you become the problem solver. Hey, I don't have money. I don't have credit. I don't have none of that, but I have an outlet. I have somewhere where we can flip your house, right? We can actually make this happen. So what I did was I started putting out bandit signs, trying to attract. That was my marketing. My first ever marketing strategy with real estate wholesaling was to put out handwritten bandit signs that said, we buy houses, cash, quick close, and then my phone number, right? Well, I put a Google phone number because I don't want to get in trouble because they're called bandit signs. So the city will say, hey, man, this is illegal. It's not illegal, but they don't like you, putting out signs. So I got a phone call, of a motivated seller that wanted to sell rental property. This was back in 2014. And I negotiated that price of the house so I can create some kind of equity position. I got the property under contract. And then what I did was I took the contract and I sold the rights to that property and that contract to a guy that actually had money to fix and flip the house. I made, as a middleman, what's called an assignment fee. Okay. And that was the smallest assignment fee that I've ever made. It was for $5,000. Okay. But at that time, $5,000 was a whole month's worth of money for me from my 9-to-5 job. Right. So I took that contract, sold it to this guy that had the money to fix and flip the property. He paid me $5,000 for finding it, for wholesaling the deal to him. And I discovered this new, life-changing concept.
So you don't need to find the buyers. He finds the buyers, and then it becomes his problem.
Yeah. So he's gonna get in there and renovate the property, and then he's gonna list the property on the market. All you gotta find is the motivated seller, get the property under contract, and then you find the fix and flip or the investor that's gonna take on that project because they have the resources and you don't. And then because you found that deal, you make what's called an assignment fee, a finder's fee.
Right.
That's wholesaling. And for anybody out there, like I said, I read a $10 book that changed my life. So I decided to write a book on my own, right? It's called The Best Wholesaling Book Ever. People can download this book for free if they go to bestreibook.com, bestreibook.com. They can download this book for free and they'll understand everything I just said. And I teach them how to get in the game with details, how to actually just make a living off of wholesaling. So anyway, brother, I made my first $1 million off real estate wholesaling 2 years later in 2016, and I never looked back. Now I fix and flip properties, physically fix and flip properties in 3 different states, and then I wholesale properties in 14 different states. So, but it all started with nothing, just the drive to want to achieve more,
So you went from wholesaling, which is being the middleman, to now wholesaling and flipping, because flipping is what takes the money. You got to buy the house, then you got to improve the house.
Absolutely.
Then you find a seller. So when people grab your book, which they should totally grab the book, like right now, bestreibook.com, they start with that middleman role. Hopefully they start making,
they graduate their way up,
$30,000, $50,000. They start to build this thing up. Then they can move into being an investor. That's
exactly what happened with me. I'll give you an example. I have a property in Berkeley, California that I'm flipping right now. I'm in Arizona. I'm flipping virtually now, right?
Yeah.
I have a property there that we're going to sell in the next, it's already pretty much September 1st, so September, October. By mid-October, this property will be sold. And God willing, if everything goes well, I'm going to make $800,000 net on this deal. One deal, by the way. That's one deal. I bought this property for $690,000. I put $210,000 into it. My exit price is about $2 million in Berkeley, California. It's a very pristine area, right? There's a college there, a great college, one of the top colleges in the country. I'm going to make $800,000 net on that one deal as a fix and flipper.
Yeah.
But I bought it wholesale.
Right. Amazing. Totally amazing. Talk a little bit. I know one of the bullet points that we got ahead of time is about risk tolerance. I mean, I'm hearing you talk. And Carlos, I am getting super excited. I am getting super jazzed. This is sending happy vibrations through the money-making part of my brain. There may be people listening to us where they go, yeah, well, Carlos takes risks. Carlos is brave. Carlos is smart. He's got street smart. He had to be successful. He was forced to be successful. I don't have that kind of risk tolerance. I'm more conservative. I'm a little bit scared. How do we expand? How do we expand that risk tolerance, not to silly risk or stupid risk, but to smart risk and risk that we have a good degree of confidence will pay off?
Well, in multiple ways. First and foremost, you're not going to be able to do anything in this life without having a little courage, right? You got to have some faith for sure, right? You can't be living in fear. See, me, I had no choice. I always lived in scarcity. I lived in that gray area in survival mode, right? So I think that really, really prepped me for everything that I'm doing now, right? Operating with huge risk. But the other thing is, I want you to be able to take calculated risk, right? And that's only going to come through knowledge. So get educated so at least you feel some certainty about what it is that you're doing. if you're going to take calculated risk, which is the best risk to take, well, you're going to have to work your way there. You're going to have to build up enough knowledge, right? Build up enough knowledge to start doing it. But that's the thing. A lot of people out there, they don't take even the first step. They won't even pick up a book, even if it's free, right? There's an old saying. It says, hey, if you have a little bit of money and you don't want people to find it, put it inside a book, right? Because people will not pick up a book to save their lives, but yet they want to be successful. I don't know any multimillionaire that doesn't pick up books. I just don't. I mean, you got like 1,000 books behind you. So you got to have courage. You got to have faith. You got to be resourceful, right? Pick up the knowledge that you're seeking. And then most importantly, you got to take massive action after you get enough knowledge. Don't be stuck in like analysis paralysis where you gain all this knowledge and you still don't move forward, right? Get the amount of knowledge that you need. More importantly, take massive action. One step at a time. Those small steps compound into huge steps at some point. You got to take a step forward. You got to take a step forward. At one point, you'll be taking the same type of risk that I'm taking now. For now, follow those steps. Get educated, start taking action, start taking some calculated risks.
What a great episode. Wowza. Tell you what, if you want to ramp up your revenue as an expert who speaks professionally, you should really check out our free online training at doitmarketing.com/webinar. I'm going to encourage people to really get to know your whole empire because I want to ask you next about all these other products and all these other companies that you've started. I mean, it's a great example of, hey, I'm going to start with wholesaling. Now I have this going. Let me go into flipping. Okay, I'm going to go into flipping. Now let me coach and mentor other people, help them get into wholesaling, help them get into flipping. But then you say, well, let me make this easier because they need all kinds of things. So then you built investor automation. You got turbo letters. You got Lead Blast Pro. You have all of these different things, right? You got the call geeks to do the phone, the all-in dialer. And I'm imagining these just came one after the other. When you saw a gap, you saw a need, and you said, you know what? Let me build something.
Yes, sir. That's exactly the way it happened.
Tell us how that all started to unfold, or which of those came first, and then what was the natural progression?
Well, for us, it was based off necessity. There were gaps in the industry that needed to be filled. And, having the entrepreneur creative mind, we started building companies that went parallel with what we were doing. It started with us first. And then it started really working for us. So then we started offering to other people. And then it started working for other people. And then, some of them just took off, right? So, right now, our three main focuses right now are real estate, number one, tech, number two, and education, number three. So those are our biggest focuses right now when it comes to what our organization is really putting out there every single day. That's how we're looking to scale and build.
Really, really exciting. I mean, so you've got a digital marketing agency, correct?
Yep, Magnus Digital.
You've got the call center, inbound and outbound call center.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the direct mail company, right? And I'm guessing that you looked at other solutions that are out there.
I tried other solutions that were out there, and they lacked infrastructure, they lacked organization, they lacked accountability. And at some point, we just got sick of it and we started building our own. But really? It turned out great because now we were able to add more streams of income and able to provide a solution, almost like a business in a box for a lot of people, And so it's not only helped us, but it's helped a lot of other people. That's the one rule in entrepreneurship. It's like, if you help other people make money, the law of reciprocity is going to come down in your favor. You're going to reciprocate a lot of that good energy that you're putting out there.
Right. Let me ask you this. This is something that I think a lot of people struggle with. We have a lot of great ideas, and we somehow think that it's the Carlos show, meaning Carlos is doing all of this single-handedly. People look at us, they think, oh, it's the David show. David's doing all of this single-handedly. When you're running multiple businesses, you are jetting around, you're speaking, you're doing your conferences, you're doing your events, you're doing your own business development, you're motivating your team, you're hiring, you're delegating. How do you keep track of multiple seven-figure companies without going totally insane, without giving up your relationship with your kids and your spouse and your loved ones? How do you keep it together, and how do you delegate and protect your time so that you're really only doing things that are part of your unique genius? Everything else is someone else's job.
Well, three different reasons. One, I was blessed with an amazing business partner, and he does a lot of the stuff that I just don't have the capacity. I don't have the brain power to do. So he's a workhorse, just like I handle my side, he handles that and more. I tell people this all the time. He's probably the only person that I know, that I physically know, that can outwork me, So one, my business partner. So for people out there that, I'm not encouraging everybody, because 9 out of 10 times business partnerships don't work. But if God blesses you with a great business partner, then really, leverage each other to what you can, to the maximum. Two, a great team. We have people, leaders that help us with a lot of these things. We have people in place. We've been able to build a small army that really helps with a lot of this stuff. And then three, it is going to take a lot of sacrifice, right? So those are the three things that we have going for each other. It's like business partner, other leaders in the company, build an army, and then you got to be willing to make the sacrifices, unfortunately. So I think that's what's really, really has helped us. Now our goal is to add to those three factors, right? How can we add more? How can we add more people that we can depend on, that care as much as we do? Where do we got to make some sacrifices? Maybe we got to shut down some businesses that are only doing 6 figures. Sometimes you got to give up the good for the great, So those are some of the things that are really helping out with our business ventures.
Totally, totally awesome. As we're wrapping up, Carlos, 2 final questions. The final question is remind people how to connect with you and how they can get more brilliance and more videos and more books and all kinds of cool things. Second to last question, before we get to that, if folks were to take one overarching big picture concept from our conversation today about entrepreneurship, about grit, about can-do attitude, about any of these great things that we've talked about, what would you hope that one central takeaway idea would be?
There's 2 different kinds of people that might be listening to this broadcast. One is they are already entrepreneurs of some sort in some way. My advice for them is go bigger, do more, right? Do more, risk more. That's my advice for them. Have huge goals, man. Have bigger goals, Don't settle. Don't settle for comfort. It's very easy to get stuck in a zone of comfort. 2, for the people out there that are thinking about, launching something for themselves, right, is do it. Roll the dice. Believe in yourself. Don't get tied down by limited beliefs. Don't do that, because at one point, man, first and foremost, it's no secret. We're all going to die at some point. We're all going to die. It's just a matter of when, and it's a matter of how, right? So for those people that are thinking about doing something with their lives, because I was stuck for over a decade thinking about doing something with my life, thinking of doing something else, roll the dice. If you fail, man, you can always get a job, right? And I'm not saying quit your job and go do it. No, start working on the transition of leaving whatever you got going on, working for somebody else. Start working on the transition of building something for yourself. And eventually, once you can supplement that income, do it. Don't look back ever, right? So, because again, we're all going to die. It's just a matter of how and when. You're going to regret not taking a shot on yourself. You're going to regret it. And that's the one thing I do guarantee is you are going to regret not doing it. So that's what I want to say to the people that are listening.
Could not agree more. Totally fantastic. Carlos Reyes, how do people get connected and stay connected to more of your brilliance? Where should they connect with you on social? Remind us where to get the awesome book. Give us all the links. They're going to be right under this episode at thespeakingshow.com.
Thank you, brother. So very simple. You can connect with me on Instagram, Carlos Reyes. Very simple, just my name. You can also reach my real estate account, which is Carlos Reyes Real Estate on Instagram. And, download the book as soon as you can. Download it. If you read it, great things might happen, right? And if you download it, well, at least there's a 50% chance that you might read it. So bestreibook.com, bestreibook.com. Download the book. We sell that book for $25 on Amazon. Download it for free. Just, whenever I come on a show, I give that link for a specific reason. So just want to try to provide value for anybody that's listening out there.
Really, really great. And I also have to give you a little bit of a shout out because in preparation for the show, I also stalked your YouTube channel. Your videos are excellent.
Oh, thank you, brother. I've been working on them. I feel like I got good content. I just feel like, because, on YouTube, I'm starting all over again. I have like 4,700 subscribers, right? Like I got more friends on Facebook, so on YouTube, I'm starting all over again, but I feel like the content's getting good. And now it's just a matter of putting eyes on it. So
definitely stalk Carlos on YouTube as well. Well,
Thank
Carlos
you.
Reyes, awesome and amazing. So great to have you on the show. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, David. God bless you.
Well, that wraps up another episode of The Speaking Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on iTunes. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thespeakingshow.com. See you next time.